never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars break the mold.
Welcome to another episode of the NRL Allstars Podcast. Barnesy here, your host of the Allstars Podcast, here for this week's NRL TLT Big Buy Special for SuperCoach. I was on the official one yesterday with Tommy Sangster. If you didn't see it, I shared it on social media there, so go and have a look. We talked a lot of stuff for this week and for the run home, but it is a bit shorter all the time on the official one, so I don't get to say everything I want to say, which is why I've got my own podcast, so now I can say it. But I've also got Mikey on board, who is a big buy specialist, and it is the final big buy round of the season. Mikey, welcome back.
Cheers, Barnesy. It's for 3 for 3 this year, and I guess what better way if you had a bit of a shorter podcast? I guess the best person to have on, we did a ramble and have a longer podcast is me. So keen to tackle into the last buy round. To be honest, I felt like I didn't even have the greatest week, but I did. I scored 1366. I'm keep ticking up. The green arrows keep ticking in, which is good. Making some good and bad moves. I was kicking myself on the weekend because before the VC Tom Jenkins, and then going into the captaincy, the Manly Storm game, I was 50-50 between Falungo and Olakwatu, because when I saw that switch around with the Storms, I was just like, I think there's a weak spot there. I went with Falungo. It didn't cost me too much, but after Olakwatu went over for a quick double, I was really angry because I was that split and close to doing it. But nonetheless, I had a good week. Managed to save a trade, and TLT was kind to me. So my numbers are looking good, and I shouldn't have to do too much this week, which is good.
Well, I'm very similar to you, except for going well. So
I bet you in another cashy this week, Barnesy. That's 2 in a row.
Yeah, you did. I ended up staying pretty much exactly the same. I was like 1270, and it was also the same thing with me in regards to the captaincy. I had the VC on Jenkins the whole time, and then I actually started off pretty well because I had Tallis Duncan for that first game for his 117, and also for Feeder went decent as well. And then I got worried and went, you know what, I'm just going to go with the crowd because I'm Cleary's due for a big one, and I'm a bit concerned against the Cowboys. Obviously, it was terrible for Cleary, and I'm surprised he even got 65 watching the game. So that really hurt, and I feel like the last time that I've hit a good captain, I was a teenager. It feels like it's been forever. I've just kept hitting captains that have been between sort of 40 and 70, and it's been a rough time the last few weeks. So this week, though, I'm all guns blazing. I've got 16 minimum, maybe 17. And
is that before or after trades, Barnesy?
I'm only gonna that's after trades, and I'm not gonna have many trades left for the run home. But I said this yesterday on the official show. I feel like that this buy round has a lot of keepers in it, and a lot of guys that you can run home with very easily and comfortably. So that's a huge advantage, and a reason why I personally think that it's okay to be a bit below and low on trades after this round, as long as you're spending them wisely, because there's so many keepers. And I think that that's going to be our 5-minute strategy talk, Mikey, to start this show. We've obviously got the final big buy round, and I think it is hugely important that teams go after it really hard, because you don't get another opportunity now. And I think a lot of teams are going to be surprised if they've only just started playing SuperCoach this year or even last year, that when we get a month down the track and the rounds are in the 20s, it's so hard to move up. And even with big swings, it's really hard to move up too much. This is the last really big chance to be able to do that. And there's ceiling guys here. So there's guys that can go 150 in a buy round, and you've got a free swing at the VC as well. I'm going to be a bit dramatic here, and some people might disagree, and you might be right to disagree. But for me, I actually think that this is the most important round for months, and it could be the most important round for the run home.
Yes and no. I'm going to kind of go a bit of a different angle to you, because I'm doing different, which is different for me. I think the most important thing with SuperCoach is if I haven't won SuperCoach before, obviously. And if I haven't won SuperCoach, that means each year, like, I rank pretty consistently. But I need to sometimes reinvent the formula. And this year, I've done what I do every year. I burn through the trades. I catch up. I slowly work my way back. But the difference is here is now, because of my actions, I want to slow down on the trading. So if the numbers are good, like hit the round hard, I think you can hit this round hard with a good 15. Yes, I agree with you. There are a lot of guys that you can run home with, but the trend this year is that injuries have been coming in. They've been coming into popular players, and I think at the back end, you can make up as much ground with trades than just going hard on them now, because I'm looking at a lot of like all the podcasts and a lot of like what everyone kind of sits with their trades, and a lot of people are burning through their trades. So if you've got them for the back end, then sweet. Like it depends where you're ranked also. Like I've gone into 12K now. Yeah. Like I heard Sab say on his podcast that from around that spot, it's 650 points away from the top 1,000. So it's achievable to get my top 1,000 finish. But at the same time, I need to keep winning my head-to-heads. I've got more chance of making a shitload of money on them. So my thought process with why I'm trying to be a bit more conservative is, mind you, I had 11 trades coming into this. So I max traded like 3 rounds ago, so I've slowly starting to improve it, and like this is a good week where if I make one trade this week, gets me to 15, I can bank 2. Like mind you, Barnesy, I'm very tempted this week. I could get in Dylan Lucas to run him home, but then now you got to start thinking, okay, if I get Dylan Lucas, I'm probably not going to get a Hudson Young. I might not get a Sasangi. I might not get. So I'm like, and then I was looking at Dylan Lucas's draw, and he's got a really tough run over the next month. So I'm like, I'm scared of him this week. But he's going up against the Dolphins, who have been great, even without their origin stars. So I'm kind of just looking at it, and I'm going, you know what? Be patient. Like I know I need to start turning some injured plays into it. Like I'm still hard at holding Kaipi's ball, but I'm just like, I feel like patience is going to reward me. So I'll kind of want to, after this, I'll have 10 trades, and my kind of goal maybe when we were talking for the last buy was to come into this next period after the buys with 10 trades, because I feel like that's not, like, don't get me wrong, you can be in a much better spot than that, but I think it's an alright spot. So I'm definitely trying to fight.
If you don't have very many players to get or none, then that's 10's totally fine. And I've seen it being, in my opinion, a little overstated, where people are like, oh, if you have 10 or less trades, you shouldn't trade for this player or this player. If you've got nothing else to do after this round but run home, then having 10 trades left is totally fine. And I even though I was saying go after it and it's a really important round, I'm not saying that you need to have 16 or 17 like me. I've just naturally ended up with that amount because of the players that I purchased previously. You can 100% have 14 or 15 and it's fine. But I mean go after it as in you should be getting the big hitters and the ceiling guys in your 14 or 15, whatever you're running with. And I certainly wouldn't, not trade and have 10 or 11. I think that you need to, and you need to go after it in that regard and make sure you've got quality on the park. And also that you're setting yourself up for the run home too. There's a lot of times in these buy rounds where we get some really crappy players in, and I've done it already because I have one crappy player this week, I reckon, and that is Taruva, who I got for the last buy. And he's real cheap at the moment at 350k, I tell you what. But it's there's enough quality there where you should be really pushing for quality, and you probably should have planned for that. So it does depend on where you are, Mikey. You mentioned that, and that's really important. I'm going after it super hard because I'm at 5k, and I've dropped from about 1,800 a few weeks back. So I need to chase hard to get back to where I was. I was hoping to be looking at around 500 now and then making a run towards that top 100, but things haven't worked out for me the last month to do that. So certainly if you're not chasing or if you're, in the top 100 and stuff, it might be a little bit different for you. But I think there is a lot of quality this week. All right, look, we're going to talk games one at a time rather than positions, which we have done in the past. I think that worked well for the second big buy. So let's do it for this one because I think the matchups this week are really important. We've got the Panthers and the Rabbitohs. It's the first one. And I guess when we're looking at the Panthers side, obvious origin guys out, I don't think that there's much in that forward pack, but the obvious ones are going to be Dylan Edwards and Tom Jenkins because those are the two top scorers at the moment in this side. I have to say that Dylan Edwards is someone that never rewards me, and I got him a couple of weeks ago, and he has gone 74 and 34 for me. It's been bitterly disappointing. He's only 666,000 on the nose, so right on the devil's number, 666, and he has 119 break even. Does have the round 19 buy, Mikey. Now, he has not scored a ton since round 8. He's only gone 80 plus once since then. And he's been really consistent in the 60s and 70s until he's 34 last week versus the Cowboys. But that's not really what you want to get an elite option in for. He's only got the 2 tons for the year, although one was 151 points, which was huge. Is Dylan Edwards still an option? Because normally, a couple of weeks ago, Mikey, I would have said he's one of the big hitters. He's one of those elite guys that you should try and have. 78 average for the year says that he is, but you've obviously got to think about your preferred fullbacks for the run home and whether this matchup is going to be one where he actually gets involved in the attack. Because one thing in that round 16 match when Cleary was out that I was really annoyed with was Cogger just seemed to not give him much ball. He seemed to run a lot, and Dylan Edwards just seemed to have a big work rate. And that wasn't great. It didn't do anything for his attack. So how do you feel about Edwards for this bye round in the run home?
I'm also a Dylan Edwards owner. Been an owner for quite a while, so I got him for his 150. So he actually has 2 tons, Barnesy, not the one. And the last time he scored 30 this year, so he scored 30 twice. He's obviously just come off a 30. He backed that up with a ton. So the Panthers, it just depends. If you bring him in at this point, they've got the bye next week. What other fullback could you get? And who are you when you're trading now, if you're getting someone, who doesn't mean you can't get? And you've got to assume that, let's just say, rule out the injuries, the fullback's an important position. I don't know if I'd be bringing in Dylan Edwards at this point. I'm happy to have him. I think he's a great number, but there are guys with a touch higher ceiling. Take out those low 30s, and he's pretty consistent. Obviously, he's key for that right side attack. With Casey McLean still out, I'm hoping they do go that way a little bit more. They didn't last game. I kind of agree with you with the Cogger, but if they give him more of the ball, he's key for those cutouts to the wing. And Brian To'o, he's a bit out of form. Does he have a resurgence this week? And if someone like him did, just to, go, I wasn't picked, I'm going to play really hard. Dylan Edwards is the kind of guy that benefits. For some reason, if Paul Adamotti went down injured this week or something like that happened, he'd take up the goals as the next in-line kicker. And the main thing, too, is I guess after that bye, they played the Broncos, Para, and the Raiders. That's a nice 3-round draw. And when you look at their draw, after that, it gets a bit harder with Warriors, Roosters, Melbourne. But then they end with Dogs and Tigers. So if I'm looking at it from a head-to-head point of view, I think, if I had a trade, he might be someone that I'd look to trade out for 23, 24, and 25 because he's got some tough matchups when we get to head finals. But before it, he could be a great purchase to help you get towards that final. So I don't have any plan to sell him till later if I can. It seems like a bit of a luxury, but it's tough. I'm scared of this Bunnies matchup. I think the Bunnies matchup isn't amazing. They're out of form and they're going to have to play themselves back into form without their big guys. They played brilliant against the Warriors when they rested all their guys after it. So the Bunnies are still missing a few, but the Bunnies still have a really good lineup for this week. So it's hard to judge. I don't see this being a super high scoring game. So it's not one where I'm going to look to have Edwards highly featuring. I could be wrong and he scores really well this week.
Yeah, as an owner, I'm glad that I've got him. I would struggle to buy him, but I still
100% agree.
Still think he's an option. Like if you've got the ability to get him in, then I still definitely think it's an option. It is easier if you have more trades because he's looking less and less likely to be a run home candidate after the next few weeks. But he's still averaging 78 points a game. So there is also Jenkins who's been popular. And I made the point on the official show with Tom that Jenkins actually has better base power this year than what Brian To'o does, which says how well Jenkins is going and also how much Brian To'o has fallen and why I have zero interest in Brian To'o for the run home, and especially at the price that he's at. So at 742,000, it's 100 odd K more for Jenkins. But I am quite comfortable running home with Jenkins. We've spoken many times on this podcast, Mikey. You as a Panthers fan has acknowledged that the left-hand side is the one that's going to get the attack. And that's been the case. I really like Jenkins to score another try this week. He's been on a run, but more so after this week and after the round 19 bye. Purchasing him this week, I think you're guaranteed almost to get a double week where he goes a 120 type of game in the next 3 after this week where he's got that Broncos, Eels and Raiders run. It's a pretty good run before it gets a bit harder. And I'm more confident, which is really weird to say, in Jenkins than anyone else in that Panthers side, including Brian To'o, as far as his floor, because he's somehow managed to score often, but his work rate's been really underrated part of his game. So, even those harder games, I still feel okay about having him and playing him. The rest of the Panthers, I've got to say to you, it's a bit of a weird one because they're obviously going really well. They've only got a few losses of the season and are coming first. But when you look at it from a Supercoach perspective, outside of Cleary and Jenkins, there isn't really hugely great options aside maybe for IPAP. You know, a lot of the other guys are really inconsistent. Even guys like Talangi and Alamoti in prior years we would have spoken about for bye rounds and said, you know, they could go really well over a couple of weeks for you in a good draw. They're not even really doing that at the moment. So it's a bit of an odd time for the Penrith Panthers for Supercoach.
Yeah, I agree with you with Jenkins. I own Jenkins. I think he's a top 4 centre wing for the run home, and he's a leading try scorer. And this week he'll be going up against the Dane Jennings because I think they said they're going to shift Kosi to the left and right. He's only played 26 minutes of NRL. Like, he looked pretty good, and he's been highly touted, but he's still that's something they could potentially target, and Jenkins has been great in the air, so I think they'll definitely go his way. And on your case, I was semi-keen at Alamoti. I was a lot keen when he was like 70k cheaper. But the difference too is I'd be more keen, if I was getting a wing place out of him and you could have a 5th or 6th, but due to all the To'o getting picked for Origin, he hasn't been shifted to the wing, because otherwise they probably would have shifted him to the wing, brought in Fanui in the centres, or probably slipped Garner into there and grabbed someone else like Liam Henry on the edge, like they've done in previous years. So they haven't done that, obviously, because To'o hasn't got selected. So I don't like him as much on the right centre. I guess this week he'll pick up the goals. So that could be the handy thing. But the hard thing is, picking up Panthers this week, like you said, the only 2 I'd be comfortable in getting is Edwards. I'm a bit iffy on. Jenkins, yes, because like next week they go into a bye. But after this, after next week, Panthers are done with their bye. So just keep an eye on next round. Next round's going to be tough. I'm on a little bit of hot water for next round, but that's not making me want to trade. I'm just like, patience. I'm trying something new, Barnesy, and I'll see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll run out of trades by this point next year.
Let's see if you hold to that. The opposition, South Sydney Rabbitohs. I honestly believe that Tallis Duncan's pretty close to a must-have, and I don't throw a must-have around very easily. He is 670,000, which to me isn't that expensive. Like, he's been more expensive this year at 734k is his peak price. So the duel's now hit. He can be in your centre wing. I don't really care whether he's second row forward or centre. He seems to have a good work rate either way and good try scoring ability. Souths have finished with all the draws, so he's going to be a really keen, really good to have cover for next week. And I'm keen to have him on that run home. It's not the easiest run home, but whenever it gets a bit harder, they tend to have an easier game that pops up as well. So I don't mind it for Souths. To me, the South Sydney value is in their 3 forwards for this week, and I wouldn't mind buying any of them. When that is Tallis Duncan, who's averaging 74, as well as David Fafita, who I think is going to come into his own for the run home a little bit more and get a bit more comfortable. And Keon Kalamatangi, 3-round average of 76 and a 5-round average of 69. And that's back to the good Keon days. And to me, I just think they're going to run him into the ground and he's back. So it's interesting. I think that South's value is actually all in their forwards. I wouldn't actually be going for their backs in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm a Duncan and Kalamatangi owner. Bunnings one I targeted earlier. I was on Duncan early just for the fact that he covered 3 buys, and he's been great. Like, he'll have the low game here and there, but his low game is like a 50. So I would disagree in the fact that he's not a must-have. It'd be team dependent. It depends kind of what you want to run with. If you had plans to bring in Sasangi at some point, if he stays fit, then I think the Duncan-Sasangi switch could be amazing and well used. That's what I want to kind of do with Sasangi, let him drop a bit more. Like, that's what I'm planning to do. But you can't stop anyone from going to him. He's at 14% ownership. He's being heavily brought in this week. He'll sit him in the 20s. That's still pretty good. And, the fact that they're done with buys, like you said, he's going to be a handy guy to run home with. And like you, I prefer him at second row. I wonder if they'll switch him to the left edge, because like Fafita played right edge last week. Like, who knows? Because he can play both. I posed this question
yesterday and we couldn't work it out.
Yeah, because you don't know, because Duncan's played majority right, but they love switching him to the left when they can. So it doesn't, if he knew he was going to 100% be on the left, then yeah, I think he's more of a tempting of an option, but you can't guarantee that. And if he starts on the left this week, doesn't mean he'll go back to the right next week. But I think it doesn't matter kind of where Duncan is. He seems to find points, and yeah, that bunny seems looking pretty solid. So this week, it also depends, like if he was on the right this week, I think it's better for SuperCoach, because that means he's running at Blaze. So I think this week I'd prefer him on the right edge.
think
It doesn't
he is
matter
as
either.
well wherever he is, hey? Like
It is true,
he's
but
been that good.
you've seen stats-wise, if you're running at Blaze Talangi, I think it's the best odds we run at for Panthers. He's missing so many tackles. Even last week, he was shocking. So I think that's the spot you want to be against to target for SuperCoach.
Well, Dave Fafita's going to be running at him, right? So
Yeah, he's another great one for this week. So if you own both, which I believe you do, Barnesy, I think it's a happy day for you either way.
Well, I think the thing with Fafita and Kalamatangi is that they're cut price options. You know, when you can get those guys in the 500s and you can run with them.
Yeah.
VC and C options in this one. Obviously, you're not going to see straight up. It's just madness. VC's a couple of weeks ago, I thought, look, maybe I'll have a crack at Edwards. I'm not going to, but I thought he might be an option. He's probably less of an option right now. I kind of agree with you. I think it could be a low-scoring game. Obviously, though, Edwards and Tallis Duncan both have massive ceilings, and they've shown that this year at sort of that 150 type range.
And throw Jenkins into the mix too.
And Jenkins, sorry, I meant to put Jenkins in there as well.
They're the three that you could VC on for sure.
Yeah. Are you going to do it? You're the Panthers man. Are you going to go for your man Jenkins?
Well, I like it, but the only reason, to be honest, I kind of prefer Tallis Duncan a little bit more. But the only reason I'm not doing it is we'll get to it. There is some big options this week, and because there's big options, and with one of my trade-ins is the reason why I'm not. I don't think there's not a good one, but I've got a better one. Like the best VC we'll be talking about soon, in my opinion. That's only because there are some great late captaincy options which allow you. That's just why. It's very open this week. You could really take a pod VC this week. So I think if you want to catch up, you want to save some of your trades, you want to get about 15, you can make up some ground with what you decide your VC and C will be.
Dragons and Tigers. Look, the Dragons to me don't have any keepers aside from the forward pack where they've obviously got the Couchman brothers. A lot of people own the Couchmans at the moment. I guess if you had a Hamish Stewart, you could certainly, keep him and stuff. But as far as buying some of these guys, I mean, look, the Couchmans are going well enough where you'd probably still invest in them. But, would you go there? Would you buy them this week? Or would you be a bit worried about the run home or want other forwards more if you were low on trades?
They've got the bye next week as well. And you're picking picking guys from a team that have only won the one game. I know those Couch Brothers have been amazing, but if you're investing in Toby, I'd be assuming, then there are so many better front rollers that I like to run home with. Like you could take a stab on 12 for a bit more money, or after this week you got guys like Barnett and like we've already mentioned Kalamatangi that are cut price, and then Payne Haas for the run home, who are a lot similar price to Couch at the moment. So that's just what rules out a guy like him. Like the difference of Toby this week is he'll give you coverage for this round. So, but like I said, I prefer maybe there's just so many options in this front row position, which is crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah, and if you don't have the high ceiling guys in this round, that needs to be your priority as well, rather than front rowers. So it does depend on the team makeup as well. I've got Taruva. I'm hoping that Sloan will just have a shocker. Sloan and Holmes next to each other with Taruva on that wing. I'm like just hoping that Taruva gives me something, because he's the only guy that I actually really need to sell. Everyone else I can just hold in my team.
His average is a lot better with Adam Dewey. I was looking at the stat thing where his average significantly increases with Adam Dewey. So I guess that's a plus for you, Barnesy, but I don't think he's one that it'd be hard to trade in unless you really need a downgrade option in that centering to make money. But
yeah, that's probably the only thing I would say to people that are like maybe bringing in a Sukkar. Like Sukkar is $379 and Taruva's about $350. So I mean, if you're needing to downgrade to that type of range, Taruva has at least got that 100+ type of upside, I think. So if you think that he can get some tries and things, and if you've got the trades to get rid of them again, but you got to know that you're only going to be playing him this week with Taruva, and then it's, you're going to hope he's going to have a negative break even for a couple of weeks or something. It's not recommended, I tell you. The last couple of weeks, just watching him on my pine has been disappointing, and I haven't even played him. I do really like Adam Dewey, though. He is a guy I didn't get to talk about on the official show with Tom yesterday because we ran out of time. But I think that Dewey is the underrated pod option for this week. He is $717,000. If you were getting a Dylan Edwards in and you're thinking about trading him later, I would argue that Adam Dewey is a better option than Dylan Edwards right now, if you are going to trade them out later on. So Adam Doueihi at the moment is averaging 84 points a game. That includes a game where he only played 11 minutes, and you can pump that up to 90s if you take that one out. Along with that, he came back last week. I thought he looked good, even though he only scored 54. But the biggest thing is that he's playing the Dragons. I know the Dragons are playing better, but someone like Doueihi can definitely cut them up. After that, though, it does have a tough game against the Warriors. Though it's not at New Zealand, the Bulldogs. But then he hits the Raiders and the Eels, has a bye, and then plays the Dragons. So there is even an argument that you could just hold him and run with him as a pod option and not run home as your flex spot. I still wouldn't not have a Cleary or a Hynes. I think you need those guys. But if you want to run a flex with Adam Doueihi as a different option to try and catch the crowd, he plays the Dragons twice in, 6 games. It could pay off. And he's also got the Eels and the Raiders, who are bottom 4 teams as well. So I actually really like Doueihi as an option, and I don't see anybody really talking about him too hard.
He's the ultimate pod VC. Like, he's got the Warriors after this week, so 112 he scored against them this year. The last time he played the Dogs, 105. So I love him. It's just that shoulder, or the injury that he has. Like, if he does it again, we've seen other teams, Taylor May got injured this week again, and that's just a worry. Like, if you're minimal on trades and you're bringing in a guy like him and he gets hurt again, it'd be detrimental. But also, I think if you bring in Doueihi, you're probably committing to 3 halfbacks, and I think it's fine. If you have Nathan and Hynes, I could happily run Doueihi as a third. If I had a crystal ball and I knew he was going to stay fit and healthy, I'd take a stab at that. I really would. But the fact that you're buying him with all that injury risk, but he looked great last week. He was playing with one arm, and he looked good, and the Tigers looked a lot better with him in it. It would have been nice.
He's got 156 BE as well, so the downside is if you're going to trade him in a few weeks, he could very well likely be down on value. But if you've got 15 trades, which I've seen plenty of teams that are around that number, you got plenty enough trades to have a stab at an Adam Doueihi, and that's the sort of play that you need to make to really chase hard.
Yeah, high ceiling, low owns. People won't go there because of the risks I just mentioned. I could get around it. It's just, it's a big decision to make.
Terrell May has been a good captaincy option. It's a week with many options. Obvious VC choice, but to me, it's an easy one to take. I'm always worried in these rounds if I VC a forward and I get a free stab at it and they go 80 or 90, I'm going to take it, and then the high ceiling guys later on that I could have looked at might get 140 or something. It's always a bit of a worry. He does have 4 tons this year, but they barely get over the line. 101, 100, 108 with his try, and 113 with multiple try assists. It's a great option normally, and I think it could end up being a good option. I'm just a bit concerned doing it, Mikey, because I know that he'll probably get 80 or 90, and you'll pull the trigger, and then you'll end up maybe costing yourself if it's a big scoring round on who the biggest C could be later on.
See, I would have preferred him as a captaincy if he was playing late in the round. And the difference too is with Alex Twal coming back into the side, he was his minutes were a little bit decreased. So since Alex Twal's been out the side, I think round 13 was the last game he played.
Yeah, he's gone 70, 76, 80 and 80. And his last 2 weeks have been the 80 minutes. He's not going to get 80 minutes still.
And his scores since Twal's been out of there, 101, 96, 98. He had big scores before that, but they've been consistently. You could almost guarantee yourself a 90 without Twal on the side. Does Twal come straight back to those big minutes? We don't know. We didn't get to see it last round. So I just think on a week, I would even prefer to take a stab at Jenkins, because I know that Jenkins has a 130 in him. Penrith could lose this game and Jenkins scored the only 2 tries Penrith scored. He could have a hat-trick still. So it's just, it's that's what it's a little bit sour to VC just because there's so many big options. I feel like it's a boring choice too.
Yeah, and if you want to chase hard or you need to, or you're really low ranked and you're bummed out about it, you have to stab at someone that can go 140, 150 type of score. They've got to be able to do that for both VC and your C. So don't play it safe. Just go for it. Let's move along and talk about this next one. We have the Broncos and the Sharkies. I am feeling very confident that the Sharks are going to do the Broncos real hard. The last 6 games the Broncos have played, they've averaged 30 plus. They've conceded 30 plus points in every one of them, bar the one against the Roosters where they conceded 24. I think they've averaged around 34 to 36 points per game they've conceded to their opposition over that 6 weeks. And they've gotten absolutely flogged as well with 48 put on them. It's not a good Broncos side that has been named. It's pretty weak. And then you have a look at the Sharks side, and they've got no Brayley, they've got no Nicho, but the back line's pretty intact there to put on some big points. And Nicho Hynes is sitting right there, and I'm quite surprised at how much he's, I guess, undervalued in SuperCoach at times. I've forgotten about how good he actually is. And I actually had some comments on the official show yesterday. Other people mentioned it as well about Hynes, maybe not being a must and things like this. It's unbelievable to me. He's the highest averaging player this round that you can have, and he's averaging in the 90s. He's the 4th best averaging player that there is in the game right now. He's always finishing top 5 every year. And the difference between him and the next guy is like 7 or 8 points per game, which is a big difference in average. He is that good. And he's got that ceiling where he can go absolutely massive. He's goal kicking in a game that the Sharks could legitimately put 50 points on the Broncos. And it's a no-brainer for me. If you don't have Hynes, you are behind. And I had people that, also mentioned their draw. I actually really like their draw. On the run home, it doesn't get better. They've got the bottom 4 teams in the head-to-head finals from round 23 to the head-to-head grand final round 26. They play the Dragons, the Raiders, the Titans and the Eels. Those are the current bottom 4 teams. It does not get any better. I don't care about playing away against the Dolphins next week. There's no Katoa. It's a Saturday. They'll probably rest their 6 Origin players. That's fine. Home at Shark Park versus Newcastle. Newcastle are playing great. You know what? It's at Shark Park. I don't care. The Sharks play well there. Newcastle aren't world beaters yet. They still give up points. I really like the draw. I love Nicho. You look at what he's done this year. He's got 116, 131, 113 that he did in a month period. 3 out of his 4 games until he came back from injury for 1 game of 61. He's got 144 he's done this year already. Half of his games, Mikey, have been tons. And then you have a look at the Broncos. He's got a 81 average against the Broncos, and they've actually been quite good previously, and 156 high. It's just crazy to me if you don't own Hynes this week or on the run.
It's absolute SuperCoach suicide. I don't care what numbers you have this week. If he's not one of them, you're in trouble. He got hurt and that. He's coming back. Big one's on the horizon. You've got to have him. It's as simple as that. You have to have him. Like, I don't throw around the must-have word, but you just have to have him. He's too good. Like, with all those opponents you mentioned, you haven't looked at his high scores, and his high scores against the Broncos, 156, 137 against the Dolphins, 166 against the Knights, 130 against Manly, 115 against the Souths, 182 against, like, all these high scores. The lowest one I can see on there is 117 for the Eels. So, like, it's crazy. I know it's been a bit different, but even, let's go to this and you go, okay, well, Trindle's stepped up a bit more. Trindle's controlling this. Okay, that's fine. But he's still turned up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times he's turned up this year. And he's also missed 4 games in there for injury, 3 or 4 games in there for injury. So, it is absolutely crazy. And, like I said, it's SuperCoach suicide. And I think, are they done with buys? 23?
Yeah, they are.
They're done with buys too. So that is even scarier. And the fact he's only 18% owned, and he's only been brought in by 8,000 people right now. So
I think it's crazy. Like, he's
in
in the low
mid-20s.
20s in his ownership.
We spoke about Duncan, and 17,000 players are bringing in Duncan. Like, look at the big two. Like, he should be the number 1 most sporting player, because a lot of people sold him when he had that injury. Like, even all year he's been under-owned. Like, he's still sat like the 50%, but he's been under-owned for what he's been producing. So that is why I sat in there and I held in there, and I didn't care if I copped no scoring halfback a few weeks, because there's no way I'm running home without clearing Hynes. Like, it is SuperCoach 101. Cool, try and be different. That's why you got to flex. Be different in the flex. But you got to have these 2 guys, especially Hynes. And he is the best VC option this week. It is who I'm VCing. You could even captain him if you want to have an early set, but he is by far, you have to have something on him.
I would be fine captaining him. If I wanted to VC Jenkins, I'd be fine captaining Hynes.
Just because of the Broncos team that they're putting up, like, realistically, we're looking at a 150. Like, this could be a very high ceiling game for Hynes.
I can't wait to watch it. We mentioned Eero as one of our favourite pods yesterday. Me and Tom both liked him. He's only around 600k. He has been going not great lately. 3-round average of 55, 5-round average of 57. But he's obviously got those games where he's gone 128 and 132 back to back. And he's got that pedigree as well with his 72 average last year, which he's still a few points off. I absolutely love him this week, but I spoke about him heaps yesterday. So one guy I didn't mention yesterday, Mikey, is a guy that you own. I can't possibly buy him because I don't have enough trades to get him out, and he's probably not going to be one of your top. Maybe you have him as a 6 center wing type of thing, but Mulitalo this week is also an amazing pod. He's very up and down, obviously. Since he's come back, he's gone 80, 26, 129, 47 and 55. That's still good for a 5-round average of 67. He's obviously got that 129 against the Dragons in a beat up. But if this week is a beat up, he could easily get a double again and look at something similar. At 638,000, he's expensive. He's got a high break even. He's not going to be one of the top options for the run home. But this is where the advantages come in. If you have a mountain of trades and other teams don't, you can afford to get in someone like Ronnie Mulitalo, who could 100% come through with a ton this week. It's just a bit scary because he can occasionally come through with a 22 as well when you're expecting a lot more from him.
But yeah, no, your reasoning's spot on, and I love your reasoning. Because of all your reasoning, that's why only 97 people have currently traded him in. He's at 5%.
97 people.
Yeah, and he's literally like the best kind of player. Like, I'm happy to run home with him. I brought him in knowing I'd run home with him, and there'll be some of those weeks where I won't play him based on his matchups. Maybe against the Dolphins next week, I might not play him, but for that, like I said, I want to go hard. I want to win some cashies. He's the perfect guy to have for that period where you said
the finals.
The finals. He plays Dragons, Canberra, Titans, Para. Like, I play each one in each of those weeks, and he's the kind of guy that could score a hat-trick, get me 120, and get me across the line. So,
in your head-to-head too, you're going to need some uniques at times, or maybe you're going to be behind and you're going to have to sub someone in.
He won't go over 10%.
He's the type of guy to do that, yeah.
Like, I get the price, and if I was buying one and I didn't have a Sharks one, I definitely want to get a piece of the Sharks. I would probably agree with you and go Eero over Mulitalo. But I hunted for a pod a while ago, and because of that is the reason why I have him, and he won't be going anywhere in my side. So I think he's fine to purchase. I think this week, but I'd probably rank him at number 3 at centre wings to buy to run home with, like obviously excluding Azarko, and I'll be able to have Eero ahead at number 2, and number 1 we'll get to in the next game, but I'd probably have Garrick. I really like Garrick for this week if you needed a centre wing.
Could you go any Broncos?
No,
that's an interesting one.
No, they're out of form. They're looking crap. They're not going to do what they did last year. And the guys that I want from there, like, I'd look at Walsh if he wasn't in Origin. I'd look at him and Haas. They're the only 2 ones. And yeah, Willison's been killing it, but he had that HR issue last week. And as they start to get troops back, he's going to be someone that you're going to have to sell. So there's no one really. Like, maybe you could make a case for Stags if, add him into the centre wing mix. Maybe you could. But they struggled to score points when they were missing all those guys last week. Compound that they don't have me in there. They don't have Adam Reynolds there. Like, this could be another drubbing. Like, I'm expecting it to be like, I was listening to their SC Experience, and they were talking, one of the Grant on there was talking about taking the Sharks for as much as you can on your pick your own line on Sportsbet. And for $9.50, you can get them at -30, that's a great bet. So I'd be looking at all kind of stuff like that. So there's no way I could touch a Bronco or bring them in. The Broncos also have a bye next week to compound all those risks.
Not good times for the Broncos, unfortunately. Sorry, Broncos fans. I will throw out an absolute hand grenade pod that I have not heard one person talk about. Here we go. And look, you know what? Because he's a forward, if you don't even have many trades, you could even throw him in and just leave him and forget about it. Teague Wilton is averaging 63 this year. That is a career high. That Broncos edge is just the type of edge for Teague Wilton to go over for a double. He's got multiple game scoring tries, but he's already scored a hat trick against the Tigers this year. He's got tries against the Raiders, the Warriors, and also the Manly Seagulls. But I've been more impressed with the consistency in the last month. He's gone 92, 56, 68, and 85. He's got a 3-round average of 70 and a 5-round of 68. Now, at 588,000, that's a decent price for him. And he certainly could be a bit of a pottier option to someone like getting a Fafita in, who's still not that highly owned. But Teague Wilton, you're talking about he's never going to be more than a couple of %. So it's an uber pod. And I've been impressed that he hasn't had many low games this year. So if you really wanted somebody like that for this week, if you had lots of trades especially and you didn't really have many priorities that you needed to get in because of how you've already built your team, then I could see Wilton terrorising that Broncos edge this week.
Yeah, 1% owned. That's not a bad one. I guess if you didn't have the money and you wanted, and you still were like me and had someone like Kai Pearce-Paul, he could be a great straight swap. And yeah, you could definitely run home with him. Be a super pod and look at for head-to-head finals. It's a nice draw. So that's a sneaky one, Barnesy. I don't know. Like I've been looking at. I guess
I like those little sneaky ones.
Yeah, I like it. The only flip side to that is I was looking at it last night. Like Nakora's at 450k and scored 160 in his last 2 matches. So I'm also thinking, I prefer just to wait a week, grab him next week if he backs up and make some money with the trade. Because I think it's important as you start to get low on trades. If you can make money with the trade, it's great. Because you don't want to have to burn another trade to get your bank to get the keeper in that you want. So, like I said, just with all your purchases, keep an eye onto what you want to do to run home with, because that's the reason why I'm not rushing in these trades, because you're gonna put yourself into like a dead end street with no way out. So just keep an eye on it.
I'm really annoyed about Nicho because he was so coming into my side for
Origin period
for these
100% at 300k. And now that Hynes is back and Hynes is going to be feeding him.
Just cannot believe it.
Over some of the other guys like Lukey and that are in form.
Look, another guy that I didn't get to talk about yesterday was Trindle. Is it an option to put Trindle in there? I'm always a little bit anti-Trindle because I just think that he's got too many really low games in him. I know that he's been playing pretty well, but like, look, Hynes has been out and he's gone, the 118, the 67 and the 81. Hynes comes back and he ends up with a 39, which is very on brand for what Trindle does. He's got a 6-point game in 80 minutes this year, and that was against the Cowboys where you'd probably play him for that one thinking there'd be points in it. I just, at 608,000, he's also expensive. Like normally with these Trindle talks that we have in this buy period, you talk about throwing him in as your second 5'8" maybe, and even just leaving him there, but he's at like 397k. At 608,000, it's just such an investment, and he's not going to be goal kicking with Hynes there. So I can't get around it, but we should mention it because he's actually, a lot more owned than someone like Wilton, and people invested in him a few weeks ago.
Yeah, not someone I could touch, but I guess in like a position that, we've struggled with, you could consider it, but not for
Career
me.
best 65 average, I should say as well. He's never been that good before, so deserves some credit.
100%, but yeah, no way I could do that. Not at that price. You could tempt me for cheaper, but not for that price.
Yep. I'm with you there. The next game, we have the Eels and the Manly Sea Eagles. Something else I've copped flack for is my love of Tom Trbojevic. Now, I need to straighten a few things out with my love for him. I'm not saying he's a must-have. I'm also not saying that he can't get hurt and that's not a risk that he will get hurt. All of that is, but he's still a good option in my opinion. And if you don't want to take the risk because you think he'll get hurt, I totally get it. But at the end of the day, he's playing the Eels this week, who are a bottom 4 side, who can give up bulk points, and his draw. I didn't even look necessarily at Turbo, Mikey. When I was saying these things, I was like, look at the matchups that are on in this big buy round, and let's see who the best games are to target. And when I looked at it, I went, you know what? Manly's got a pretty good matchup. And when you look after this week, Manly actually have a really good run of games because they've not only got the Eels this week, they're at home at 4 Pines versus the Cowboys, and then they're away versus the Titans. So this 3-week run of Manly's, I sort of said to myself, I want a piece of it. Who should I be getting? Which is what led me to say Hopoate last week looks like a good pod, and he was terrible. But this week, hopefully, he's a bit better. But Turbo has gone 63 and 70 in the last 2 weeks without a try. He's due for a try. He opened the season with 5 games in a row scoring a try. And this just looks like the run of games where he can do it. The Eels average is 82 with a high of 179, and that's across a lot of games he's played the Eels. And when you have a look at the Cowboys, he's got a high of 229, and against the Gold Coast Titans, a high of 208. Now, I understand people will say, Barnesy, that's vintage Turbo numbers. He's not the same player, blah, blah, blah. You're right. you're right. I'm not going to say he's going to score 200, but if he scores 130, that's going to be pretty good, especially on this next 3-game run when people aren't really bringing him in high numbers, Mikey. So to me, at 557,000, it's a low investment. And to me, I actually think it's a lot lower risk than what people think. Yes, to me, all you're risking is a trade out. That's what you're risking, the cost of another trade later on down the track. But you know what? I've got single digits on trades, Mikey. I don't care about that cost because my team is completely set up for the run home. I don't have to get anybody else and I could just run home with what I got. So if I got to trade out Turbo down the track, I don't care. I'm going to take the hundreds I'm going to get in the next few weeks.
Yeah, 6% owned, 11,000 bringing him in. He's still going to be a pot option for this week. He is my one trade. The main reason I'm led down to, I know I was saying all the things about Dewey and not taking risks because of the injury, but the difference with Tom is I always fall in the trap of Tom, A, and B, with it's the price and the positioning, and at the moment one of my worst trades of the year, and you probably agree with me because you've done a similar thing, is KO Weeks. He's been awful.
I thought we agreed to never talk about KO Weeks again.
I get it.
He doesn't even play in the NRL. He doesn't exist. I don't even know who that guy is.
I get it, but because of him, I need to get this guy out of my side, and for 50k, I can. And not only that, that is a serious upgrade, and it's a steal of a price for Tom. With the incoming draw, he hasn't had that big one this year that might tell you it might not come, but if he stays fit in round 26 for head-to-head grand final week, guess who he's playing? He's playing the Dragons. So to me, if he stays fit at 557, it's a bargain. I'll run home with him if he doesn't get hurt. If he doesn't get hurt, with me being, a little bit cautious with my trades from here, can afford to, this is me gambling one of them. Use one this week, gets me to 15. He's a prime captaincy option this week. I'm all in on Tom like I normally am. And the one thing I'll add is with the injury of coming back from the injury, like the physio says, he's most at risk in the first 2 weeks. So my always plan was to be patient, let him play his 2. If he gets through those, his chances of re-injuring that injury he come back from are a lot lower in his 3rd game. I know Tom likes to find another injury and get an injury on the other leg or get an injury he can get an injury anyway. I get that. But that also fills me with a little bit of confidence. And it's not like we're forking out 750k with all those risks. The risks lower with the amount of price that you're paying for it.
Well, you know what else? He's only had 2 other seasons where he's only had 1 ton for the whole year. And it's because he's played 7 games in those seasons. If he plays half a season, he's always got multiple tons. And this year he's only got the 1 ton, which is only just a little bit over 100 as well, at the 104 for round 1. So numbers-wise, if he plays out the rest of this year, or even if he plays out another 5 or 6 games, he's due at least 1 ton. Just statistically, that's what he's done in his career. So I am going to go one step further here, Mikey, and go completely mad. And I don't expect people to agree with this because I'm going to say outright it's a risky move. But I may very well VC Hynes this week and just outright captain Tom if it doesn't work.
That's exactly what I'm doing, Barnesy. I think that's exactly what I'm doing, and I'm doing that with the utmost confidence. I think that is almost... Yeah, I think that's the best play. I'd be surprised if I don't loop Hynes. I'd probably take... With Tom's injury history, I'd take one... I'd consider 100, but 110 for sure, a loop. 110 plus, a loop. Even 108 maybe. I might take a 108. I think I'd take the caution just because of the injury Tom can do. But if Hynes goes, under 100, then yeah, I'll captain Tom. He's up against Para. I know Olakau'atu and is out, and so is Kohler. And when Olakau'atu's out, they've lost a bit to go for. But, a pod that would probably get to bench of which is absolutely killing it. They still got strike power there. So I think, and the fact that Tom's in there now, and I kind of like Joey Walsh in the half. So I think he's still primed for a big score. So yeah, 100%. If you have Tom, it's hard not to captain him in this buy round. That excites me.
Even if he's mass traded in, he's still only going to be 16% owned or something.
Yeah, well, he's at only 8,000. I wouldn't say that's mass. Do I think that'll change? Yes, but I think we still get a 15 to 20% Tom Trbojevic. And captaincy-wise, I think he'll be a pod captain. Not a super pod captain, but he'll be a lower percent captain for sure.
For those that didn't watch the official show yesterday, I'm going to repeat some numbers that I had on there for Tom. Since 2021, he's played 3 final major big buy rounds. And his scores in those have been 123, 119, and 144.
Do I think he's an absolute must? No, definitely not. But it's team dependent. My team needs someone in the flex, and I can do that without having to spend a second trade on money. And that was my big thing. Get to 15 with 1 trade, and I could do that with 3k spare in the bank, Barnesy. So that's a sign from my side.
Hopoate didn't work out last week as a pod, mate. I know you're a big fan. Did you bring him in?
I brought him in. His score wasn't great, but like I said, happy to have him as a fifth centre wing, someone to hold there. We mentioned the nice draw incoming, so I'm fine with it. He's going to have the games where he doesn't score this week without Ola Kawatu. He was just getting fed. They're going to have to look to the wings, and if Tom goes as big as what we think, I'd be very surprised if Tom didn't turn up and Lehigh wasn't there with him. Be very, very surprised. So when Tom's firing, the centre wingers around him are firing. So is he still a bringer this week? Yeah. I'm not angry with the trade. A lot of the trades I brought in this week when I brought in a guy, like I brought in Ola Kawatu, he scored 45. I brought in Duncan 45, but then the big ones came. You don't always have to get him in strike gold instantly, as long as, overall you're winning more than you're losing. That's all right. So I think that's the way to look at some of your bring-ins. They don't have to go, obviously it's lovely when they go bang the week you bring him in, but they don't always have to. They can turn to gold a week after Barnesy. That's what I'm saying. I'll give him a chance.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And you did mention a great little pod in Ben Travojevic and how well he's going. At
He's
almost
killing it. He's killing
almost
it.
700k though. Like he's more expensive
Breakout
than Tallis
season.
Duncan. So
You wouldn't go there, but it's just you've got to shout him out how good of a season he's having. 72.9
well done, Ben. I've called you a New
average.
South Wales Cup player before, so I'll take that back now.
72.9 average. It's
You're NRL
crazy.
status.
He's scoring so many tries. There's always one, like just a player that you think achieves something you didn't think they could.
Okay, so on the Eels side, I feel bad for Eels fans and we're not talking about anyone. I actually think Jack Williams has been going pretty well for SuperCoach. The problem is it's just there is too many other guys better just in this round, let alone for the run home. So I just find it too hard to spot start any of these Eels or to try and make money out of them or get some big scores for a few weeks. So did you find any Eels that you liked for the bye round?
No chance. They're not playing good. To like a team like the Dragons, like I just can't run home with anyone from there. I think Jack Williams is the only one you can semi have a look at, but he'd be someone I'd also look at running into the buys, not running home with. So they're another one. They've got, I know Moses hasn't been great, but he's out. Pezzett's coming back in. So yeah, I'm not giving him much of a chance.
We finish on the Knights and the Dolphins. Just a
Interesting
general
matchup.
feel for this game. This isn't a game that I would target. I think that there's other better target games.
It's hard to
certainly
pick how it's
Manly
going to go.
and the Sharks are the two teams that I'd want players for. I don't know what's going to happen in this, Mikey. Like I could,
Yeah.
if it was 38-34, I'd understand. If it was 18-12, I'd understand. I don't know how it's going to go.
How hard is this game to tip? Like I know Dolphins are in form, but they're probably due a loss. And yeah, they're out all their origin stars, but the guys that they
Katoa's
bring in,
gone.
how good are the guys that they bring in? Or yeah, okay, Bostock's got picked up. Avarillo's back. Oh, no, Hammer. We got like Fuller. Like their replacements are really, really good. So it's hard to kind of
I actually
knock
think
them. And
Nafahu
Finafu didn't get picked.
is their best replacement.
Oh, and
Nafahu's
him
been
too.
a gun on the wing.
That backline is amazing still, and yeah, you're right in the fact that who they're down, but I guess you can compound that the Knights don't have Kalen Ponga, so it's kind of maybe an even trade-off. No easy control for the Dolphins,
But the
no
Knights are the
Kalen Ponga
same,
for the
right?
Knights.
Like Caleb Ponga's out, they
Sandon's
just put
great,
Sharp
yeah.
at fullback,
Yeah,
and then they get Sandon Smith into the halves. Like I don't think that they really lose a lot.
it's a tough matchup, but like the Dolphins' edges, Lamelu and Fenner, like they have so much attacking power, and the fact that Lucas hasn't get picked, like how can you pick this one? Look at it's very tough. Like maybe Dolphins just, but I think this could be still good for SuperCoach points, but it's a hard one to target. And an unpopular opinion here, Herbie's absolutely killing it, and you could captain him each week. But for me, there's so much better options this week that maybe I'm thinking, he's going to be marked up against Gaga, who's notoriously a great defensive centre. This is a week to maybe not have something on Herbie and go harder at something else. That's the way I'm thinking. I'm not saying that you can't, because I think he's still a great option, but he's the kind of one where I'm like, this is the week to maybe go away from him. And I've got a lot of guys in there, so I like Sharp, I like some of them, but a lot of them, when we get to the armband, like you said earlier, it's hard to really shoot at this one because it's hard to predict, but some great options that could shape the buy round for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually going nowhere near this one in captaincy options.
You can't. It's too scary.
I'm too scared about it. And I agree with you. I think Herbie's an option and he could go well, but it's a great opportunity when Herbie's going to be easily the most captain player this round to go elsewhere and try and get one up on a lot of the people that you're wanting to chase in the rankings or in your head-to-heads. And this one presents another guy in Dylan Lucas who is much like Tallis Duncan, right? And you said before that you didn't love the Knights' run home. I still
Or he's
think that
next
Dylan
month.
Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's next month. I mean, look, I still think Lucas is really a good buy because his work rate's really, really high. 58 just raw base. So he's given you mid-60s as a floor. He's got 96, 101, 120 his last three. He's only got one game below a 59. So that is pretty crazy as far as the consistency and high scoring. He's got Dolphins this week, mate. We've said that we don't know what's going to happen. It is at home, though. I like that for them. I don't care about playing South very much. Then he's got the Sharks and the Roosters. After that, though, if you're buying him as a keeper, which you have to be because he's one of the top 3 second rowers, in my opinion, he has the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Titans, and that's a good 3-week run. Does have a bye in round 27 for the overall players, but that won't affect the head-to-head grand final. But he is away against the Warriors in that head-to-head grand final, which is hard. So I get what you're saying about the draw, mate. It might keep me off buying a Greg Marju or something, which I've held, and I'm hoping will repay the faith. It probably stops me from going a Dom Young this week as well. But because he's a forward, I feel a lot more comfortable going him.
No, I think he's a great option. He scares me the most this week. I'm trying to talk myself out of it because I don't want to make 2 trades. I have to make 2 trades to do it. To do it, I'd have to sell Pascoe to Brandon Smith and then go Kai Smith Sport to Lucas.
God, we didn't even talk about Brandon Smith. Everyone's bringing him in, but it's an ugly option.
Well, it's an ugly option, but he can cover if you need to. There's no hooker on the bench, and Pascoe looks like he could be a sell because you're going to have a hooker roll share. So if you don't want to lose all that cash, example, if I went Pascoe down to Brandon Smith, that gets me a keeper. But the reason for me is I can only afford to get one more second row keeper. Probably means I can't bring Sasangi in yet, or it also means I probably wouldn't get a guy like Hudson Young. So,
but if you don't have enough yet, is this not a good time to look at enough?
For me, no, because I've got a guy like Patrick Herbert who I need to get down at some point. I've got Leka Halasima. I'm still waiting. So I do have a few fires. I prefer to go Brandon Smith. So if Harry Grant goes down, injured, I could play Smith for a week, or if he gets rested, I can play Brandon Smith instead. So that's why I don't hate that trade if it gets you a guy like Lucas. I knew coming onto the podcast for you this week wasn't good for me to save 2 trades because I knew you'd probably talk me into it. I'm trying to shut it off. I think that trade for me is great, but it leaves me with 8, and that scares me. It goes against everything I've been talking to you about the past fortnight, Barnesy. But look, I can't stop anyone from buying this guy. I really do think I need this guy, but I'm trying to be stubborn with myself. Hey, I'm not ruling out a backflip, but if that gets me to 17, I don't need 17 this week. It's more so the fact that I need Lucas. Do I need Lucas to run home with? Maybe. And I get a guy like Kai Pearce-Paul out, and next week a guy like Kai Pearce-Paul will hurt you because I've already got quite a few Panthers, and I've got one Dragon. And you compound that with injured players that you're holding, then next week could get heavy for you with restings.
Yeah, I think for other teams that aren't you, that don't have those fires, if they haven't brought in enough, I'd certainly not be worried about doing enough this week to get to the important keepers that you need to if you can't get to them like Mikey can't.
Would you stab at a guy like Dane Jennings who could end up becoming a guy? I know he could come a bit of an A nightmare, but with Johnson down hurt, could he take the spot of Cozy? Maybe you could go down to a guy like that instead that could become a number if things get scarce with those trades.
Yeah, look, there's an argument for it, and I get it. If you're short on players, if you've only got 10 or 11 runners and you need to get numbers, then yeah, I think it's more of an option. The problem that I've got is if you've already got, 14 plus, getting that extra guy who might end up an AE nightmare, which is still a thing, still can be an AE nightmare, is a bit of an issue. But more so, the thing that I like the least about it is that if I'm getting enough, I'm strategically getting that dual position guy that's going to help other parts of my team. So I have recently nuffed. I got Miles Martin from the Raiders as a dual front row, second row forward in my second row. And that's allowed me to bring another dual from front row down when I need it and to alternate. Having that flexibility on the run home, I think, is much more important to me than a guy that might end up, being able to play down the track, but that I'm not going to play anyway, if you know what I mean. But yeah, if you need numbers this week, and you need to have a low guy, then doing something like that can make a bit more sense.
Just to end on Lucas too, he's only at 8%. He's only been currently brought in by a touch under 6,000. He's going to be a
Crazy.
pod, and the more I look at him, this is why I've just tried to not look at him, because the last 3 games he's turned up 3 in a row. The Knights look great this year, and he's always an attacking weapon when he doesn't get hurt. So he's a guy that I always seem to just not have, and he burns me. So maybe the writing's on the wall, Mikey, but it means I'd have to bring Brendan Smith back into my side for the second or third time to do it. And that,
Oh, jeez.
I wish I could do it in a trade bunch, and then I'd do it. But look, it's one I need to think about for sure. And I think if you're not bringing in Dylan Lucas, it's one you think about. I think you could happily grab him and not grab Hudson Young because he's giving you this buy round this week.
100%. Like, if you've got Hudson Young coming in down the track, I just say no to Hudson Young and get Dylan Lucas. I think Lucas is a better player anyway.
That's I guess
a better super coach player. Okay, if I was picking the Origin team, I would.
If you go on and on, I think they're pretty close, even for in real footy and for Supercoach. I think in Supercoach they're fairly close. It's just I guess the difference with them is Knights are in form, the Raiders aren't. If the Raiders charge home, then maybe you could say that hey, Hudson Young's a touch undervalued because
the Raiders charge home, they'll still finish out of the finals now. So they have no charge home really. I'm all off the Raiders, but. Well, the other backs for the Knights, Young and Marju have been great this year. Marju really does need Ponga there, but to me, the current matchups and everything make it hard to get either of those guys. But they do have those big ceilings, So we talk about wanting big ceiling guys. I'm glad I own Greg Marju. It would be a big call to bring either Marju or Dom Young in, though, hoping that they're going to get a ton.
Yeah, I thought the week to get Dom Young was last week against the Tigers. No, it didn't go super great, but I'd probably refrain from it. The people that are looking at selling someone like Mars here, I'm kind of against that too. But yeah, I agree with you in that fact. I'd be if I'm trading in a night this week, it'd be Lucas. Could you take a stab on Fletcher Sharp? Yeah, 100%. This game smells like points for sure. I think this could be a big point fest. So,
funnily enough, the 2 games where Fletcher Sharp started at 1, he only scored 36 and 33. It was against the Roosters and the Panthers, though. So,
and I guess the Dolphins are in third, or they're killing it. They're in third place, so it is another tough matchup while he's at fullback. But we've seen signs of life. Oh, there was that game where he scored a double. He got shifted into fullback.
Yeah, he did. He got shifted during the game.
That could have been huge
for that game.
He
scored 2 tries early against the Dragons and only ended up on 74. So this is a problem with Sharp this year that we haven't seen from him before. The last 4 games, he's actually played really well, but he's gone 70, 77, 74 and 61. He's only actually gone 80 plus once all year, and that's a concern. Whereas last year, he had multiple games where he went big. When you're going through it, he had a 119 and 131 and a 128 last year. Like, he had those big games in him, whereas this year he just doesn't seem to have had them yet. So either he's going to have a low season or those tons are going to start to come. I'm not sure which it is, but at 600K playing fullback this week and being able to be at 6, Mikey, I think it's important because you can bench him for a couple of those tougher ones coming up. And when they get that draw open up, you can throw him in. And I think that he could be really valuable on that run home if you get him in this week.
I've owned him for quite a while and I couldn't stop anyone from doing it, but that's the theme this week. There is a lot of options to buy, and I think it's good to close on there are so many guys to buy, and I think the numbers this week, they're quality. Like in the 15 I currently have, the only one that's not good is Makasini. So there's a lot of quality in the numbers. I think it'll be a high scoring buy round. You'll need a strong side if you want to move.
Yeah, I agree. Fidi Fuyaki on the Dolphins side of things, I need to mention because he is now 527,000. So we mentioned guys like David Fafita and Kalamatangi. I didn't talk about the Dolphins at all yesterday on the official one with Tom because we ran out of time. Fidi Fuyaki is still averaging 70 for the year, but he's all the way down to 527K, Mikey. His last 5 games have been disappointing. He's had a real Origin slump. He's gone, since Origin started, he's gone 61, 58, 40 and 53. So it has been poor. Can he turn it around? Because the first third of his season, he was averaging 83 points a game, and he was one of the best second-row forward options you could have. Now at 527,000, is he value for the run home? Is he going to get back to that? Or did we just see a flash in the pan and he's having a slump because, he's actually not that good at SuperCoach?
I wouldn't say he's not that good at SuperCoach, and I definitely think he's an option at the price, but you've got to also look at how many Dolphins you've got. They've got around 21 buy, a lot of popular options in there. If you've got too many, that round could be a little bit skinny. So think about that. For my side, no, I wouldn't be looking at him. I own the other edge in Lemeluelu, who has been
Last
amazing.
month
since
has
I've had him.
killed it
Yeah,
for you.
he's another
79,
one
76, 86, 74, 2 tries in
a lot
there.
of attack in there. There's a lot of, like, most games get a try assist, but that's fine. He's like a 2% pod. And when I brought him in, he scored me a 40. And every week after that, he's done those numbers you've said. So another one that, bought him, looked like a dud trade, and he's turned out all right. So, but I guess if you were bringing one of those two in now, I get why you would do Finifuaki over him because of the 100K price difference. Like I said earlier, like, you've got to cash manage while you're trading with low trades. You have to. If you are on the opposite side of the rainbow here and you've got a shitload of trades, then you don't need to worry about these tactics I'm coming at. Because if you notice, I always split those tactics because I've been inside that hole nearly every season I play. So that's why I am accustomed to the strategy of working with low trades. But obviously every year is different depending on the amount of injuries that's come and obviously the depth you build in your side.
I got to apologise to Finifuaki too. He did have a 48-minute game in there in that origin period as well. But the big thing is that he's about 10% down on what his raw base was for the first third of the season. And he's even more, he's like 15% down on base power in this middle third of the season compared to what he started the first third of the season with. And that's a concern because when a work rate drops, it's not a great sign. Asako is a run home type of centre wing. I don't own him. I actually think there's enough other guys that I can have to not need to own him, but he has absolutely killed it recently. He has a 5-round average of 80 and a 3-round average of 82. He has 2 tons this year, but one of them is that massive 178 because he does have that big ceiling. One of the reasons that I don't like getting him in is because he has been really inconsistent. In previous years, he'll have many 30s before he gets you a good score. Recently, though, this run of games lately, since round 8, he's gone 99, 65, 178, 56, 71, 83, 82, 72, 92. Only one game since round 8 did he not hit 60 plus, and it was a 56. That is incredible consistency, and we've never seen that before from Asako. 728,000. Is he the premium option that we should be getting in? How much does Katoa being out for potentially 2 months also affect whether he's going to get some more attack or not?
I think it won't matter as much because the Dolphins are scoring lots of points, and I think they'll continue to do it without it, which really benefits him with a goal kick. And it's not only that, he's a great goal kicker. A guy that I just never seem to be able to get in my side, and at that price, I kind of prefer. We went over a couple of options at 100K cheaper. I kind of prefer them, but it's also the fact that I've got a stack of Dolphins already, that 21 buys coming in, but he's definitely top 4 centering for the run home. Like, look at those scores, look at that consistency. He's been saved in the past couple of weeks. It looked like he was going to head for a 40 or a 50, and then he gets late attack that really bumps up his score. But the Dolphins enter, they look like they're looking great this year. So if you didn't have Asako, is one that I couldn't stop you from getting, and he's one that, he does have a ceiling. So he's one in these buy rounds that I'm always scared not owning because I know what he can.
Herbie Farnworth we have mentioned as a captaincy option and so forth, but can I just say, if you don't own him, he's one of those elite options to get in this week. We haven't really talked about it because it's sort of assumed everyone's got him, but I don't care that he's 900K. Like, he has one game below 80 the entire season. One game below 80. It's
24% of coaches have captained him this week. If we go top 10%, it's 50, and that's going to keep increasing the higher you go. So that's why I'm just saying, like, it's not a bad option, but it's creating opportunity. But you're right. You got to have him. Like, he's killing it. He has been, he loves to score tries in bunches. Like, when he scores a try, he goes, a try each week for a good, month period, and he's been doing that. And like I said, if
third best average is against the Knights as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Dan Gogo can restrict him to like a 90. I'd be very happy with that. But yeah, you can't talk anyone out of Herbie. Like, it's Herbie. He's so good.
Well, I do need to mention our great partner of the Allstars Podcast as well in One World Courier. They are also now a official sponsor of the West Tigers. You can see them there, but you can jump on onemobcareer.com.au today if you've got a business or you work for a business with any freight or shipping needs. They are your people. It's a website that you can sign up to for free now. And if you mention NRL Allstars Podcast is where you came from, they'll fix you up with a nice discount to start with as well. But it'll show you basically after you plug in what you want to send, all the different carriers and all the different prices. You just pick whatever one you want and One More Courier take care of it all for you with fantastic customer service. So go and jump on them today. They're a great partner and sponsor of the Allstars Podcast. Mikey, we're taking a poll. How confident are you this week? And how confident are you that you're not going to spend that trade on Dylan Lucas?
Shit. Like before I started the talking, I was like a 10% chance of doing it, but I'd say I'm 50-50, right? Oh, no, I reckon maybe I'm tipping a scale of 51 looking at Lucas now. Like I think, the more I look at it, I think if I do the trade, then I'm down to 8. I would just have to go really, really strict on trading, but it does make my team better. It solves an injured problem. If I knew that Smith wasn't going to get hurt again, I just want to have a playing option at that backup hooker. So, I'm looking at it heavily, Barnesy. Screw you.
I'm just fortunate that I've planned to have a lot of these big hitters for this round. So,
I think I've got a lot of the big hitters too. Like I think the big ones, if I didn't get Lucas, it's him and Azarko that are the two big hitters I'm not going in with.
Yeah, Sarko's going to be the only one for me that I'm missing for the round, I think. But look, that is the podcast, everyone. Hopefully everyone has a big week this week and enjoys the round and enjoys Origin next week. Mikey, thank you very much for coming on, mate.
No worries. If anyone can talk an hour and 10 minutes the 5 teams in the Byron, it's us.
Well, enjoy the round. We'll be back next week with the normal show for TLT. Until then, good luck with your footy. Good luck with your SuperCoach. Can't wait to talk all about it again next week.
You'll never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars break the